students, staff, stand before you today an opportunity to celebrate our veterans. We, as a school, get to sit together because of our veterans. We, as a nation, have many freedoms that others do not because of our veterans. Today, I would ask you to pay close attention, to remain silent, to ask yourself, while I'm here today, what can I take from this experience? What can I learn from today's assembly? There'll be moments that you can do so if you reflect well. Let's make sure we have the best respect and behavior that we can have as a large group. Let's be sure that we enjoy and celebrate our veterans in an appropriate manner. Today I'm going to turn this program over to Mike Burgess, a teacher, a friend, and an esteemed colleague. He'll be our master of ceremonies, and you're in for a treat. Let's give Mike a hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand and place your right hand over your heart as we salute our nation's veterans with the playing of our national anthem. Thank you, and please be seated. President Ronald Reagan in 1981 said, "If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we've achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it is because here in this land we unleash the energy and the individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and dignity of the individual has been more available and assured here than any other place on earth. The price of this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Here now, to honor our great nation, a shining city on the hill for all the world to see, is the River Bluff Wind Symphony Orchestra with the playing of America the Beautiful. The men and women of our nation's armed forces come from 10,000 communities across this nation. Urban areas, suburban neighborhoods, and small rural farms and towns from every corner of the United States. These men and women represent different languages, religions, ethnicities, and races. Yet what binds them together is a love of country and a willingness of the heart to protect their fellow citizens from those who mean us harm. To honor these heroes, the River Bluff High School Wind Symphony Orchestra will play each time you tell their story, with Assistant Band Director Ted Tinker providing narration during the song.
No soldier chooses to die. It's what they risk by being who and where they are. It's what they dare while saving someone else, who life means suddenly as much to them as theirs, or more. To honor them, why speak of duty or the will of governments? Think first of love each time you tell their story. He gives their sacrifice a name and takes from war its glory.
Armed Forces. Here we go. The Armed Forces Salute is a staple of every patriotic concert as a way to honor those who are serving or have served in the different branches of our armed forces. Today, when the Armed Forces Salute is performed, if you have family currently serving or has served in our nation's military, when their service song is announced, please stand on their behalf to be recognized. And now, the Armed Forces Salute as performed by the River Bluff High School Wind Symphony under the direction of Mr. Kevin Avery. The United States Army. The United States Coast Guard. The United States Marine Corps. United States Air Force and Space Force. United States Navy. It is a privilege and an honor to welcome our keynote speaker today, Mr. Alan Wilson, the Attorney General of the great state of South Carolina, who joined the South Carolina Army National Guard in 1996, received his Combat Action Badge for service in Iraq in 2004, and since 2011 has served as the South Carolina Attorney General. Father, husband, Attorney General, and officer as a colonel in the South Carolina Army National Guard, Mr. Alan Wilson embodies what our military is built upon, the citizen soldier. Please welcome the Attorney General of South Carolina, Mr. Alan Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. I guess I can say good afternoon, River Bluff. How are we doing? Are we glad it's Monday? Are we glad it's Veterans Day? If you're glad it's Veterans Day, on this side of the room, let me see you yell loud as you can. How happy are you it's Veterans Day? Okay. If you're on this side of the room, I'm gonna see if you this side. Yell if you're happy it's Veterans Day. They might have edged you guys out just a little bit. Y'all want another bite of the apple? Another shot? See if you can beat this side of the room? Y'all yell if you're happy it's Veterans Day. Yell if you're happy it's Veterans Day. Okay, they're up in their game. We'll stop there. This could go on all day. It is great to be here. First off, I want to thank Mr. Burgess. I want to thank the faculty, the principal of River Bluff High School for inviting me to talk to you today on why it's important, why we celebrate, why we recognize Veterans Day, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. River Bluff is also important to my family personally. Not only have I known some of the teachers and faculty, like Mr. Burgess, hold it down, got it. Not only have I known Mr. Burgess for many years, he's been a dear friend, but I've had the opportunity to speak many times at this high school, especially to the Center for Law and Global Policy Development. Did I get that right, Lila? I got it right, thank you. My son, who is a Lexington High School student, is a member of that organization and loves coming over here and is always talking about what a great school this is. And so it's always an honor for me to come here and speak to the student body. The first thing I would like to do is ask for your indulgence to talk to you a little bit about how being a veteran and serving has helped me in my personal walk, because I think the lessons in my life you might be able to apply to your life. Now, I know that the teachers and faculty here at River Bluff High School are not only trying to educate you and prepare you for college or whatever each of you seeks to do upon graduation from this institution, they're also probably trying to develop servant leaders, right? Servant leaders is something that I think every one of you should aspire to be, because that's what is going to make our community, our state, our nation great. And I want to talk to you about how that helped me in my development. When I was a young, right out of college, second lieutenant, I had trained for years to be a second lieutenant in the military. And in my first day of service in the National Guard, a young captain came up to me and was telling me, you know, Alan, Lieutenant Wilson, he said, I want you to get out in that motor pool and I want you to get dirty and sweaty with those junior soldiers. I want you to be out in the heat when the sun is out. I want you to be out there when it's freezing cold, when it's raining. I want you to suffer with them. When we go out into the field to do exercises, I want you to be the last one to go to bed, the first one to wake up every morning, and the last one to eat in the chow line. Now, at that time, I did not understand what that young captain was trying to teach me as a young 22, 23-year-old second lieutenant. But I quickly learned through my service over the years that what that young captain was trying to teach me is that leadership is not about perks and privileges. It's about service. It's about serving those with whom you have a charge over, or those with whom are members of your organization. Now, you don't have to have the title of leader to be a leader. You don't have to be a lieutenant or a CEO or a president of some student government organization. Each and every one of you can be a leader just by having character and speaking out, by being a beacon of light or being there for someone who's going through a hard time, helping someone who is struggling either in academics or in their social life. Being a leader is not about getting a title or a perk or a privilege. It's about serving. It's about serving those people in your community and in your school. And so that is one of the values of leadership I learned as a veteran serving in the United States Army. And I would challenge each and every one of you to be leaders. And some of you may even go into the military or serve in some capacity. But you don't need to be in the military to be a servant leader. Each and every one of you can do that right now. And I wanted to share that with you because the things that I do today, 30 years removed from joining the National Guard in the Attorney General's office, I learned in my early 20s as a young second lieutenant. And those skills of leadership are transferable, and they will be for you too. Now I'm going to pivot real quick about a personal experience I had when I was serving in Iraq. And the reason I want to share this story with you is because I want to demonstrate, or at least illustrate for all of you, why we celebrate Veterans Day. Now this summer I had the opportunity to go to Normandy, France on the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the landing on Normandy, in Operation Overlord. And I got to see the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of white cross stones that were right there overlooking Omaha Beach, and saw the men, mostly men, some women, who gave their life in the European theater during World War II. Many of them who died on those beaches. And I got to hear the stories of what they faced as they charged those beaches, and for in the following 9 months as they swept across Europe to liberate it from tyranny. Many of them gave their lives. They were barely 18 years old. Some of them died in really tragic ways, but they were willing to put service to their country and to their brothers and sisters in arms above their own personal safety. And as I thought about looking out over that beach, what it must have been like 80 years ago, is many of them knew they were facing certain death, yet they continued to charge that beachhead. It made me think about my personal experience, which in my opinion pales in comparison to what they did. But I want to share with you what I went through nearly 20 years ago, actually just over 20 years ago. It was August of 2004 where I had an experience. Now, before I tell you about that experience, let me tell you, as we trained to go to Iraq, as we prepared for war, we didn't know what we as a unit were going to face when we went to Iraq. But one of the things that we were taught is that the insurgents who were there, who were trying to kill American service members, what they would do is they would put explosives on the sides of roads. They called them IEDs, improvised explosive devices. These devices were basically designed to kill U.S. service members, but also to disable convoy vehicles. We would convoy through the streets of Iraqi towns, villages, and cities, and oftentimes what we learned they would do is they would detonate one of these IEDs, hoping it would kill U.S. service members, but oftentimes it would disable a vehicle. And when that vehicle became disabled, then service members would get out of their vehicles to assist the vehicle that was disabled. And that's when the insurgents would open fire with small arms trying to kill the U.S. service members. That's what we trained for. That's what we came to expect. Now, in August of 2004, I was leading a convoy to northern Iraq to pick up supplies from the Turkish border and back to southern Iraq to deliver generators and food supplies back to our service members that were serving at forward operating bases around Iraq. And it was a 700-mile convoy. And as we were going through Mosul, and just to give you a sense of it, Mosul is a very urban area. There were 14 vehicles. The lead vehicle was an armored Humvee with a turret, with a gun, with a crew serve, and there was a soldier standing up in the turret, manning that crew serve system. And then there was the commander's vehicle, which was my vehicle, and then behind us was a tractor-trailer truck with our payload. And every other vehicle was either a Humvee with a gun crew or a tractor-trailer truck. And there was 14 of them. So we were going through downtown Mosul, and all of a sudden an explosion went off in an instant. And as that explosion went off, it threw my Humvee forward a couple of feet. Immediately, my ears were ringing. The ears of the other 3 soldiers in our vehicle were ringing. We couldn't hear anything but a loud noise, like a ringing noise in our ears. And I didn't know what was going on behind me because I couldn't see in the rearview mirrors. I couldn't see out the portholes because smoke and soot had come up over the hood of the Humvee. And it was like being in a cloud. You couldn't see what was going on. Total chaos and pandemonium was breaking out over the radios. I immediately grabbed the radio, keyed it, so that I could let the soldiers know that I was leading, that I was about to give orders. And I was going to order the front gun vehicle, gunship, to turn around and come back into what we call the kill box, because remember what I said, we were trained to prepare for small arms fire when we got out to help the soldiers. I was going to cue it, and let them know to come on in. But before I could do that, there was a Humvee that was about 30 yards in front of me. There were 3 soldiers in it. The oldest soldier might have been 24. The youngest was in his late teens. Not much older than you are now. They, before I could even say a word, they did a U-turn to come back into the area where the explosion occurred. And what I did not know at the time was the tractor trailer behind me had been disabled and had caught on fire. Now, tractor trailer trucks have very large gas tanks. And they expected an imminent explosion any second. These 3 young soldiers drove back into the kill box, and I could see them as the smoke was clearing, crawling up into the tractor trailer truck and pulling the 2 drivers out and pulling them to safety inside their Humvee. And then we exited that area where we expected small arms fire. Now, thank goodness, thank the Lord, that day there was no one on the skylines of the street to shoot down at us. But what I want you to take away from this, young soldiers, not much older than many of you in this room, 18, 19, 20, 24, somewhere in that range, they drove back into a place where a tractor trailer was about to explode. And by the way, it did explode 2 minutes after we left. And you could see the plume of dark smoke from 10 miles away. It was that big of an explosion. But they crawled into a tractor trailer that was on fire with a gas tank, not knowing if there would be enemy insurgents firing on us. They did that to pull 2 other soldiers out and get them to safety and to secure that area until we were all able to leave the kill box. That is what we're celebrating today. Men and women who raise their right hand and say, I will go if I am called, and I am ready and prepared to lay my life on the line if I am asked. And those soldiers that day went back in there with no personal regard for their own safety, at great risk, at great peril, to serve not only their brothers who were in that truck, but all of us who had to get out of that area of downtown Mosul. So when I think about Veterans Day, it's not just a day where we sing a bunch of patriotic melodies, we have assemblies. It's a day where we recognize the men and women in uniform who are from all walks of life, from the poorest to the richest, across every socioeconomic divide, all races, ethnicities, genders. Everybody is willing to lay their lives on the line. And today I want you to think about that. That being servant leaders is something each and every one of you can do. This is what they teach us in the Army. This is what veterans have already instinctively been taught. But each and every one of you can do that. Also, today when you're walking around and you see someone with maybe that Vietnam veteran hat or that VFW hat or that Iraqi war hat, or you see a veteran, you see a little lapel pin or a t-shirt, something that signifies that they serve, or if you see a soldier or an airman, someone who is a service member in their uniform, walk up to them and say, thank you for your service. That is how you can serve those who serve us. When I'm walking down the street in uniform and someone walks up to me and thanks me for my service, I never feel more proud to be in uniform than when someone recognizes that. So I'm asking all of you, for those of you, I noticed a number of you stood up when they were playing the melody of the various branches of service. You go home today, you talk to your loved one, your parent, your aunt, your uncle, your sibling, whoever, your neighbor, thank them. If there's a faculty member today that you know is served, walk up to them and thank them. And if you see a stranger in a restaurant, walk up to them and say thank you for your service. Veterans Day is about recognizing those who are willing. Memorial Day is we recognize and remember those who did lay down their lives. Veterans Day is the day that you say thank you to those who are willing to if called upon. Again, I want to thank Mr. Burgess for the call. I want to thank the principal. I want to thank the student body for allowing me to speak here today on a day that is very important to my family, as I know it is important to each and every one of you and your families. Thank you all. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Let's give Attorney General Wilson another round of applause. On the frosty winter morning of January 20th, 1961, newly inaugurated President John Fitzgerald Kennedy spoke to the commitment of America to the cause of freedom around the world. He said, "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty." That is what our veterans do, whether it is in 1961 or 71 or in the 80s or in the 90s or in this century. They oppose any foe to assure the survival and success of liberty. No piece of music embodies our dedication to spread the blessings of liberty, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, than the Battle Hymn of the Republic. This Battle Hymn of the Republic resonates in honoring our veterans who seek to spread the light of freedom abroad while protecting our citizens' home for those who would do them harm. For our last musical selection, the River Bluff High School Chamber and Wind Symphony Orchestras will perform Julia Ward's Howell's anthem of the American Civil War, the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Outstanding job. Folks, if you know the time and effort and energy they put into today, to learning that music and being prepared for it, we appreciate that very much. We see it and we appreciate what you brought. Today, an example of servant leadership, one we want you to take home. Attorney General Wilson, thank you for that. That's exactly what we want to produce here is servant leadership. I would tell you that requires hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. Folks, anything worth having in this life requires hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. If it is worth having in this life. A lot of you are experiencing that as a student right now. You'll experience it in different ways as you become an adult and have a chance to do those things. What a great example of that sacrifice that was just shared. Thank you. Mr. Burgess, Attorney General Wilson, thank you for today. Let's give them a hand. Our Wind Symphony and Chamber Orchestra, again, let's give them one more round of applause. Students, want to tell you thank you, and teachers, outstanding job, outstanding assembly, and I really appreciate you locking in and taking something from this that's meaningful. We're going to conclude today. Remember that you can leave the gym in different ways. There's an exit, there's an exit, there's an exit, and they're upstairs as well. Y'all have a great day, and thank you again.